Hello YouTube world, my name is Tyler Marchand. In my first video ever made, I'm going to be discussing my picks for the worst hit songs of 2018. There is a general consensus that 2018 was a bad year for music, with some saying that the year was worse than 2016. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think 2018 was that bad. Was it a downgrade from 2017? Hell yes it was, but I feel that people may be exaggerating the whole worst year ever mentality. At least for me, the year was propped up by several legitimately great songs getting relatively big this year, but that is another video for another day. Here, I'm talking about the worst of the bunch. Here are some ground rules. To be on this list, the song had to be on Billboard's official year-end list for 2018, released this past week, and songs that carried over into 2018 from last year are ineligible for this list, regardless of whether or not 2018 was the bigger year for them. That means that songs like Sorry Not Sorry and Rockstar are ineligible, although those songs aren't nearly the worst of 2017 and weren't on my worst list for that year. And one more thing, this is my opinion, and as such, since I don't think that these songs are worthy of my worst list, popularly hated songs like Girls Like You, Meant to Be, Never Be the Same, and Wait will not be on this list. This does not mean that you aren't allowed to disagree with me. If I get any angry comments saying that my opinions are wrong, and that I don't know anything, then I have every right to respond in an equal of a nasty tone. But nobody wants that. With out of the way, let's kick things off with 4 dishonorable mentions. This is the song that Americans decided they wanted to represent 2018 as a whole. Honestly, I would have preferred Perfect over this, as though that song is far from perfect, no pun intended, and is one of Ed Sheeran's weaker songs. At least I get the impression that Ed was invested in that song. Drake sounds, as usual, monotonous in this song, with the only place where he even shows the slightest bit of energy being towards the end of the second verse. Add in very minimal production, and you're left with a song that I was sure was going to make my top 10 proper, but inevitably, it got forced out. But we'll discuss worse later. Shh. This song might have avoided being a dishonorable mention in its entirety, since I don't find the instrumentation of the song that bad, well, with the light guitars throughout the verses and all. But then we have Post Malone's delivery and the content. He's taken a breakup very hard, and the song consists of him ranting about this satanic woman who did him wrong. The vocal effects that he has cause a warbling sound that really sets me off edge. Personally, I say this is his worst song to date. XXXTentacion. Musically, he had a better 2018 than he had any right to. 3 songs on the year-end list, with one being a #1 hit. That song will not be on this list, even with that whole "suicide if you ever try to let go" line. This song is not so lucky. The song has some whack instrumentation, and the content is typical for X's songs, with him bitching about a woman. It even includes another suicide line in the form of "knife and intestine." Vocally, his voice gets pretty grating midway through the lower verse, to the point where he starts slurring his words and mumbling. Last year, he was number 3 on my worst list with Look at Me. None of his songs from this year were quite that bad, but none were anywhere near good either. This Drake song stuck around for quite a bit, and for the life of me, I just don't know what people saw in this song. All that there is instrumentally is this bass line that gets old very fast. As for the content, Drake is just bragging about his rapping skills, which he proved this year that he does have skills. But here, what is he saying about himself that hasn't been said before? Okay, fine, I'll rephrase that. One interesting line is where he says he's a bar spitter, so I would expect him to at least demonstrate in this song, yet he doesn't. He also takes pride in the fact that he's light-skinned, yet he's still a dark N-word. I don't know what skin complexion has to do with anything, yet somehow this isn't going to be the only time someone refers to their skin color in a song. Stay tuned for that. Okay, and with those dishonorable mentions out of the way, let's move on to the top 10 proper. Number 10. Since this is a worst list, most people would think that this is where I build up my anger and rip these songs to shreds. While I will be ripping these songs to shreds, it's going to take a while before anyone starts seeing any expressive anger from me. And it's hard for me to be pissed off when songs like this exist. I'm not upset at Drake for making this song. My reaction to the song is more like, really? This again? In the song, Drake is spewing off his normal checklist of how there is a price on his head. Honestly, I've heard so many songs like this from the guy, and I find it hard to believe that people want him dead. I don't even know if Drake believes this himself, but this is a trope that seems to have worked for him for a good while now, so until it stops working, he's gonna keep on doing it. Added in with some Lazy Keys production, this song sounds like most Drake songs that I would normally just shrug off as forgettable. So why is this on my worst list? There are some additional bits in the song that bring it down for me quite a bit. He mentions that he doesn't go 50-50 with no hoe, which I guess is the truth, considering how he's been outed as a deadbeat dad. He also refuses to pay for child support for his kid, claiming that he also had a deadbeat dad. Come on, you can't use your parents' flaws as excuses for your shitty behavior. One thing that also tends to not get a lot of attention from other music critics is when he jacks the to the left bit from 2007's Irreplaceable. I may not be a Beyonce fan, but I acknowledge that she is a better performer than Drake is. Next. Number 9. This is going to be difficult to talk about. When an artist tragically dies at such a young age, there is a tendency among the public to turn said artist into a saint, where everything is worthy of endless praise, and where if you criticize the art, then you are a shitty human being. I don't believe in this whole sainthood mentality. So, was XXXTentacion a shitty human being? 100% yes. Did he deserve to be the victim of a drive-by in suburban Miami at the age of 20? For reference, I'll be 23 in about 2 months' time. 100% no. This song is just so lazy. The only music that you hear in this song is a single set of piano notes that do not change or evolve at all. I did not like the instrumentation in Moonlight, but in that song, at least the instrumentation was interestingly bad. X's voice sounds bad with all the auto-tune layered on him. And the lyrics? Yet again, this is another place of laziness, as the songwriting is also lazy. The song basically him just complaining that he doesn't like how this girl is changing in her life, like we all do. If you can't accept that evolution is something that happens in life, then I don't know what to tell you. His family must still be devastated that he's gone, as must be his fans. However, this, again, does not excuse the music being bad. I feel like I've given this 2-minute song more attention than it deserves, so I'm gonna move on. Number 8. Saying that Drake owned 2018 would be the understatement of the millennium. What makes this all worse is now he has the star power to turn an absolute nobody into an overnight celebrity, and this song is possibly the worst example. In all honesty, however, Drake isn't the reason the song is terrible. Not even a minimalist instrumentation. This is where Lil Baby comes in. This guy has a voice that makes him sound like he's in constant pain, and add in a pretty bad flow. You have the content. In his chorus, he likens his car to a Pokemon character, and if that's not bad enough, that line isn't even original. Yeah, that line belongs to Young Thug. In his verse, however, things get worse. There's a point in the verse where he tries rapping for a ridiculous amount of time without stopping for a breath, and as a result, his words start to slur. He then finishes off that verse with, "Wah wah wah, bitch I'm a baby," and I'm left to wonder why this guy even got a follow-up hit in the form of Drip Too Hard. This sucks. Number 7. When artists rip off other songs, I don't usually see that as a negative, unless the rip-off desecrates on the original to the point where I don't want to listen to the original anymore. The most prominent example I can come up with, and that most of you viewers see as the bottom of the barrel, is Anaconda from 2014. This entry is not that type of ripoff. This is an even lazier type of ripoff, and from a song that was only mediocre at best to begin with. Why did we decide that we needed another I'm the One? What is lazy about this ripoff is that the layout of the song is almost identical to that of its spiritual predecessor. Strange production choices? Check, mainly due to the presence of baby sounds that make me feel uneasy. Verses where the artists try to pick up randoms at a club? Check. The exact same performers, minus Lil Wayne, whose verse is instead replaced by a verse from Justin Bieber? Check. And the content is somehow worse than I'm the One. In his verse, Quavo feels the need to emphasize that him blowing a girl's brains out is a metaphor. Honestly, I was so concerned. And then in the chorus, Bieber proceeds to insult the girl he's trying to pick up by saying her mind is on loose. All things considered, putting the song on the worst list was a no-brainer. Number 6. One thing that I should explain again is that the reason this list is out now, while quite a few other prominent worst lists have already been published, is because I tend to wait for the year-end list to be published, so that my songs represent Billboard's 100 songs. Since other critics have their own rules, which they have the right to make, they publish lists before the year-end list is made public. I still watch these lists though, and I was consistently seeing one song being featured on worst lists, and it's a song that I knew existed and I knew would be on the year-end list. However, I didn't consider this song a contender before since I couldn't understand what was being said. When I decided to investigate into what was being said, it's been more than 6 years since I took a Spanish course, so I originally didn't know what the lyrics were in the song, but when I did decide to look at them, I was shocked by what I read. Apparently, this is a breakup song, where 6 reggaeton artists brag about dumping a girl for no apparent reason, and when I say dumping, I mean that the song title refers to this woman as trash. None of the 6 men involved come out looking chivalrous in the slightest. Bad Bunny explicitly says that the woman is garbage since he doesn't recycle things he doesn't like. And all the other artists describe every possible way how they tell this woman to take a short walk off a tall building. And you even got Nicky Jam emphasizing that he only joined the remix to add his own fuck you to the pile. That and the song is 7 minutes long, which means that the minimalist piano beat gets annoying after a short amount of time. So yeah, I see why the song is getting a lot of hate, and it quite frankly deserves it. Number 5. Even though I am currently 22, I can't really say that I've ever had a girlfriend. I have had female friends, but I've never had one that I'd consider more than a friend. Admittedly, this is because I'm a bit of an introvert, but the point is that I have a bit of a nervousness about asking to be more than a friend to girls I like. I'm more nervous about that now because a song like this exists, and you probably already know where I'm going with this. Look, I don't hate Marshmello as a producer. In fact, I like quite a few of his songs, and for the most part, the production in this song is not too bad. There's a good folk-like guitar groove throughout the verses, and the chorus drop may be a bit too intense for my liking, but it still gets the job done. Most of the problems with this song stem from Anne Marie, the lady who did the singing for Rockabye from last year. Here, she's telling off a man who does admittedly seem to be overstepping boundaries, trying to become more than a friend to her. However, she rebukes his advances by acting like a bitch, emphasized by lines like, I told you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 times. Haven't I made it obvious? Want me to spell it out for you? And get that shit inside your head. Have you ever heard of killing them with kindness, Anne Marie? By the way, remember how I said that most of the problems stem from Anne Marie? That's because at the end of the song, there's this G-funk breakdown that is very annoying and with synths that give me headache whenever I listen to them. I honestly hope Marshmello does not make anything like this ever again, because he is better than this. Number 4. When the Billboard year started, I was finding myself in a conundrum. There were 2 songs that I absolutely hated, and I figured I'd have to find a way to break a tie that I had between the songs for which one was going to be my pick for Worst of the Year. While I have finally broken that tie, none of these songs are my Worst of the Year. The fact that this is only at number 4 should speak volumes about how much I dislike this one song in particular. Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. Spread their racks on new chain. My bitch love do cocaine. Ooh, I fuck a bitch, I forgot name. Can someone explain to me what Gucci gang is supposed to mean? I mean, it must mean something important because this Lil Pump guy, nice name by the way, feels the need to say the phrase a nauseating 54 times in the song that is barely 2.5 minutes long. And yes, I counted the number of times the phrase Gucci gang was said on Genius myself. The piano instrumentation is very minimalistic, and Lil Pump's lyrics in the song are also very basic. One line that sticks out is when he tells people to scream, "Fuck WestJet," which refers to an incident where he was removed from a plane from the company due to being disruptive. He should just be thankful that he wasn't on United. But the lyric that really gets me comes at the end of the verse, where he says, "Fuck a little bitch, make a pussy wet." For some reason, making references to wet female genitalia is a music trope that truly grosses me out. We'll get to more on that in a bit, but first, number 3. This was a song that I thought was going to be my number 1 worst song of the year. However, I don't even want to talk about how 6 9 is a horrible human being, since there is a thing called Death of the Artist, and countless others before me have already served as judge, jury, and executioner, which means that it would be redundant for me to say what has already been said at length about this guy's personal life. Instead, I'll focus on his music. The synths that make up the instrumentation for this song get grating early on, which is saying a lot for a song that, like the previous one, is only 2.5 minutes long. And then there's 6 9 himself. His style of rapping is to howl at the top of his lungs, and the things he's saying aren't that interesting at all. Well, except for him bragging that he has a stiffy and comparing a woman to a horse. What really raises eyebrows for me is the amount of times he says the N-word in the song. I should give Andrew Prep credit for first talking about this, but 6 9 is Hispanic. I've always wondered whether it is even considered socially acceptable for Hispanics to say the N-word, a phrase that I've always associated as a derogatory term toward black Americans. So here's a bit of a homework assignment for people who are watching this. If there's anyone watching who is Hispanic, please let me know if him using such language is socially acceptable or not. But now you're probably left to ask, if this was once the worst song of the year for me, but is now only at number 3, then what was worse? Well, number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, 6 9 made a song that is worse than Gummo. Where do I start? Well, the instrumentation is very lifeless. I may not have liked Gummo's instrumentation at all, but at least it had a pulse. And the lyrics make this song a lot worse. 6 9 starts off the song with, "Pussy got that drip drip, got that wet wet, got that super soaker." That's just a very romantic line, don't you say? Then he goes on to describe a certain woman as being a fifi, a word that apparently references a prison sex toy. Credit goes to Mark Grondin for that pleasant discovery. And who does 6 9 get on the song to play the role of the fifi? Why, none other than Nicki Minaj. The only reason I think she agreed to do this was because she was desperate for mainstream attention. Ever since Cardi B broke out last year and has had tremendous success, it has become apparent that Nicki Minaj is jealous. She's not even trying to hide it anymore. Don't believe me? Just listen to Chung Lee, a song that just barely missed the year-end list. Here she is clearly taking pot shots at Cardi B when she directly referencing the song Finesse. But I'm getting off topic. In her verse, she flat out accepts that she's a sex toy by putting it all up in his face. That, and she also does a stupid wordplay shtick here. Hell, she even starts off her verse with, he trying to 69 like Tekashi. Over the years, her wordplay attempts have been getting less and less original. But then, 6 9 comes back to start reciting the eeny meeny miny mo nursery rhyme, and does it a lot worse than Justin Bieber did 8 years ago. So, what could be worse? You guys probably have a good idea by now. Number 1. I'm not making this video to surprise everyone by saying I dislike certain songs that aren't as hated by the rest of the public. I am making this video to share my opinions for what my picks for the worst songs of 2018 were. And there's one song for me that stood above all the rest. And I'm sorry to disappoint anyone if my number 1 choice is predictable, but Freaky Friday. There is a lot to unpack here, so I'm not gonna fuck around. Instrumental wise, this sounds like a DJ Mustard song from 2014, although the production is slightly better than the vast majority of his stuff from earlier in the decade, in that it actually sounds like there was the slightest bit of effort put into it. The problems with the song come down to the content. The premise of the song is that underground rapper Lil Dicky and woman abuser Chris Brown are both down on their luck and wish to be someone else. This premise isn't a bad one at all, but it is executed piss poorly. When Lil Dicky, who is white by the way, wakes up as Chris Brown, he rejoices that he can say the N-word 11 times without punishment, and proudly proclaims that he is light-skinned black, like that is supposed to mean anything. When Chris Brown wakes up as Lil Dicky, he starts off by looking at his dick, which suggests that he is insecure, but comes to realize that being a nobody has its perks, in that nobody will judge him because I'm black or my controversial past. This is a sentiment that I dislike quite a bit. Saying that people want you to fail in life because you are a minority is something that I find disgusting, and it was a similar sentiment that earned Tunnel Vision my number 2 slot last year. However, this is not the end of the song. Lil Dicky grows to love being in a woman abuser's body, and in his euphoria, posts Chris Brown's dick on Twitter without permission. The song has them switch back to the normal selves by making Chris Brown admit that he loves himself, which is a pretty strange message to send out. But somehow, the song is not yet done, as Lil Dicky then body hops into Ed Sheeran, DJ Khaled, and Kendall Jenner. I would like my fellow music critics to try and tell me that perfect is the worst thing Ed has been a part of when this exists. I don't even know why he decided to become a part of this song, although I will admit that DJ Khaled's part is kinda funny. The only funny part in the song. But then we get to Kendall. In her body, Lil Dicky says he's going to explore her vagina. Again, without permission. What is left is a song that should never have been conceived, and my pick for the worst hit song of 2018. Well, that was my debut video on YouTube, and depending on how this goes, I may make more videos in the future. I know for a fact that I will be making a best list eventually, sometime after this video is uploaded. Stay tuned for that. Until then, I'm Tyler Marchand, and thank you for watching.